end of 2020. What a crazy, ridiculous, really hard year. This has been a really hard year. I've had tons of stuff go on outside of YouTube. I've shared some of it, but like many people, this year has been incredibly hard. And with that said, it has also been a really amazing year in some regards for me, especially around my guitar playing and the kind of guitars that I get to own and the guitars that I get to keep. So this video is all about celebrating my ride or die guitar gear that has made it with me through 2020 and is coming with me into 2021. So a few weeks ago on the live video, we talked about all these pieces of gear, and I thought that this would be a really good place to just give an update on the guitars and the gear that are sticking with me through this year and are coming with me into 2021. I'll talk about each one, I'll give some of my favorite features, and then I'll also give some sound clips. So this is just a gratuitous, wonderful recap of a year of finding badass guitars and gear that have bubbled up in me into music and friendship. I'm Jeremy, I'm the Guitar Hunter. I make videos every week that teach you how to become a guitar hunter who finds the right guitar for you and fills the world with music and friendship. So this is me taking my own medicine, and this is the result of a year of hard work buying and selling cool old guitars and gear. At the beginning of this year, I was in a corporate marketing gig that was just not for me. It took up way too much time, it wasn't challenging, and it wasn't fulfilling, and so I left. And I left with the plan of strike out on my own. I'm gonna really go hard into YouTube. I'm gonna go really hard into buying and selling guitars and gear. And the problem, as you know, as I know now, is that it was a really bad idea to lose a job at the very beginning of March, to leave a job. So in the beginning of March, I left and I gathered up. I didn't have enough guitars and gear myself, and so I reached out to a couple guitar playing friends who wanted to sell some stuff. And I worked out a consignment deal, so it was a bunch of amps and a couple guitars, my friend Elliot and my friend Mike. So what happened was I got all these guitars and gear, I packed them up into a rental car, I headed south. This was in the middle of March. I was going to hang out with John Schultz from True Vintage Guitar, and John called me and said that the show had been canceled. Little did we know at that time what this would turn into, that 8 or 9 months later we would still be locked down in our basement, that we would just not be back in the world in the way that we thought. Now, I sold off almost all of that gear, but there was one thing that hung around. One amp that I could not get over how fantastic it sounded, and it's this tiny little Valco. This amp is astounding. It has giant KT88 tubes in the back of it. It has an original 12-inch speaker. The speaker code and the amp chassis both date to 1947. This is an astounding little amp that is a total sleeper. It doesn't sound like anything else. It's giant, and it has amazing fizzy, warm overdrive. Everything about this amp is just wonderful. So I got this and I told Mike, I was like, I don't know how it's going to work out, but this thing's not coming back. This is mine now. And so we still haven't even really made a deal to close. It's just, it's mine. And Mike can tell me how much he wants for it and I'll pay him that. The other amazing thing with this amp is that this comes from Warren. Warren is the guy who I worked for 8 years. He owned the Guitar and Amp Center in Harrisonburg. And unfortunately, I've sold almost everything that I had when I left. That shop is now closed down, and so there's a sentimental part of me that wishes I could have something. So Mike also worked at this shop, and in a really gracious, in deep kindness and friendship to me, Mike offered this amp with the expectation that I don't sell it, that I keep it. So, Mike, thanks, buddy. So after the guitar show got canceled, I was committed. I mean, the world had painted me into a corner. I had to make videos. I had to find a way to take care of my family. And so that just became pumping up the amount of videos that I did. Now, while I was doing that, I ended up getting a phone call from Peavey themselves. And they had seen a video that I'd made called The Problem with Peavey, where I talk about the problem that is moving production out of the US and how it hurts towns and it hurts people that are here in the States. All of that came to a place where through a weird, I mean, it's friendship. Through friendship that just occurred, empathy and sympathy for the situation just in the middle of lockdown, Fred from Peavey offered me a Peavey Classic 20, which I love the Classic 20. I love that circuit. I love how diverse it is. He offered me one of the new mini heads. Now, the mini heads are amazing for a lot of reasons, but this has been my go-to gainy amp, and also this has been my go-to silent recording amp. It is just an astounding piece of engineering. It's really cool. It's totally diverse. The 112 cabinet with the vintage 30 makes it roaring loud. This has been a really ride or die piece of gear this year. It's just awesome. So Peavey Classic 20, that thing's staying with me because it's just such a cool utility and it's super diverse. Now the next piece of gear that I got along the way, Fender became a really good friend to the channel this year. And so Fender reached out and they asked if I'd want a Tone Master. And this was about 6 months after the main push. I wasn't part of the original launch. I probably wouldn't have because it just isn't my gear. But I made a video comparing it to a Hot Rod Deluxe. Not really comparing it, but more just saying, like, is this where tubes are going? Are tubes being relegated to being too heavy, being too loud, being too unfriendly to home recording? And as I played the Tone Master, it blew my mind. I could not get over just how great it sounds, how light it is, how feature-rich it is, how it does everything that I need to do when I'm recording, when I'm at home, especially for anyone that has kids or apartment or roommates, just places that you can't play a 22-watt tube amp. There's something just badass about this amp. So the Tone Master is here to stay. That showed up in April, and I'm just very thankful, very excited. Woo! Just knocked something off of my shelf. That's how loud it is, and I scared the bejesus out of myself. Anyway. Woo! So in the middle of the summer, Fender again reached out and said, hey, we're launching the new American Professional 2. Do you want to make a video on one? And I could not say yes fast enough. The original plan was for me to just have this guitar for 6 weeks. I would make a video on it, they would pay me for it, yada, yada, yada. And then the video came out and they never sent me a label. And then I reached out and I said, hey, the guitar is ready to go. I had the box pulled out, I'm ready to send it back. And the friends at Fender said, hey, thanks for making the video. Why don't you keep it? Which is amazing. That never happens to me, and I do not take it for granted. None of this is lost on me, that this year I got a Tone Master Deluxe for free, I got a Strat for free, I got a Peavey Classic 20 and a cabinet for free. None of that is lost on me. It is amazing, and I'm very thankful. So this Strat is the coolest color. It plays so great. It has a feature that I didn't even know about when I made the video. I didn't even know about the push, which is to add the neck pickup into both the bridge and the second position, which then makes all three pickups work. I didn't know any of that. I just thought that guitar is the perfect guitar for 2020. I think if you love Strats, it is the strattiest of Strats, and it just offers tons of cool features. Again, if you get good features, good construction, good quality, it's inspiring, it's fun. Man, how could you not want to keep something like that? So the Strat is thankfully wonderfully here to stay. I love it. I play it all the time, and I'm not a super Strat guy. I'm more of a Tele guy. But this Strat is just so freaking good, and the pickups, especially the neck pickup, is just badass. There are a whole lot of reasons that would motivate you to buy gear, look for gear, find things, and hang on to things when they get here. And this year I found that there were certain pieces of gear that I hung on to because they were nostalgic. There were certain pieces of gear that held on because they were really utilitarian. There are others that I found that are just incredibly inspiring. And there's something really good for guitar players to learn another instrument. Mandolin to me is so fun because it's kind of guitar upside down, but it just constantly helps me find new voicings, new chord progressions. It's just endlessly inspiring. The other thing that's really fun is the octave mandolin. Because it's an octave down, it feels very vocal, and with that, it just lends itself to cool voicings that I never really get to use on a guitar. So I love it. My octave mandolin is absolutely here to stay. Now, scratching that nostalgic itch, I started looking this year for a Huss and Dalton. I love Huss and Dalton. They're made here in the Valley. They're made about 30 minutes from my house. I've known Kimberly and Mark and Jeff and that whole crew, Brian. I've known all of that crew for so long, and for years I have wanted to be a Huss and Dalton owner. Now, I did own a Huss and Dalton for about 4 years. I sold it right when I got married, and that's a whole story unto itself. But I've always loved Huss and Dalton, and I've really wanted to find something a little more traditional and a little more just my style. So in July of this year, I found just the coolest Huss and Dalton. It's a TDM. It's actually right here. It's a TDM, which means it's basically kind of a D18 style from Martin. It has a through saddle, but it also has just straight up badass, top quality Huss and Dalton vibe to it. I got this guitar for $2,000, which is a ridiculous deal. And with it, this guitar is fun and lively, and it's really diverse, it's really warm. Everything that it takes, everything that I throw at it just handles really gracefully. I also put an LR Baggs Lyric pickup in it. This guitar is just straight nostalgia distilled for me. It feels like such an important accomplishment in where I am in my guitar playing in my life. It's just really wonderful. So this guitar is here to stay as well. Other top motivators for me is I will always want to own gear that is incredibly unique. If I can find something that is absolutely unlike anything else, I will go for that. So in the middle of the summer, in just the hottest of days, in the middle of the summer here, I found a piece of gear that I just had to stop. I had to cancel my plans that day, and I had to get in front of this amp, check it out, play it, and buy it if I could. And what I ended up with is a 1959 Guild 66J on the outside. It is this badass mid-century tweed, looks like a trapezoid, just incredibly cool amp. And then on the inside is a completely hand-wired 5E3 clone, and in that clone is also an octave tremolo. This is just, there is never going to be another one. There is not another one in the universe. And I got it for $725. I thought, it's just so cool. It sounds great. I'd played 5E3s, and I knew that they were probably a thing that I was really into. But that, between Rhett Shull's video about his 5E3 and just how he gets so much out of it, and the fact that I have idolized Neil Young since I was 14, it just was so clear that I had to buy this amp. And now, with it, it's this one is here to stay. I don't know how I'm going to keep all of these things, but this amp is amazing. It also has a Weber Blue Dog, which is a really great speaker. This thing is spanky, bitey, chimey, just super. If I only could have one amp, it might be this one. It's just that good. And last, but certainly not least, is my Waterloo. This is a guitar that I never saw coming. This is the wild card. So yeah, think about all of these reasons why you would keep all of these pieces of gear. Nostalgia, utility, functionality, connection to your hometown. This one is just the wild card. It's not something I ever thought that I would like. I got this to flip it, and when the first time I strummed it, I knew I was in trouble. This guitar, the Waterloo, is just feather light. It has a red spruce top. It has a beautiful deep V shape on the neck. It's a slotted headstock. It's a 12 fret. It sounds like a dreadnought. It's ladder braced. It's punchy. It's boomy. It's warm. It is just endlessly inspiring. And the biggest thing about this guitar is that it is just playful. And I think we miss the point a lot of times. I think when you're looking at guitars and gear, we totally miss the point that guitars are meant to be playful, that play is a fundamental part of a healthy human. So I've played this guitar till my fingers hurt. I play it all of the time. It stays in our bedroom in the guitar hanger right by my bed. I play it every possible minute that I can. I love this guitar. It is here. I've never had a guitar feel more connected to me, just as a player and as a musician. That's all of my gear. But there's one that literally showed up the day before this video, December, whatever. It's like the weekend between Christmas and New Year's. A guitar showed up, and I want to give you a sneak peek because this is a guitar I have wanted to own. This exact guitar is one that I've wanted to own since I was 14 years old. So let me grab it and give you just the tiniest of little sneak previews. It's amazing. I can't believe that it's here. It's another one I have to figure out how to keep a lot of these guitars. Now, with all of that said, it's been a great year. Look forward. Prepare for the world to come. I have a lot of plans for my YouTube channel. So as I look at the year ahead, there are things that I want to do. I want to travel a lot, and I know that that is a preposterously difficult thing to even imagine right now, the way that the world is at the end of 2020. But when I look forward, I see a better and more exciting and wonderful world in which we get to hang out, that I'll get to do events across the country. I want to go to Canada. I want to learn how to buy guitars internationally. There are many things that I want to do, and all of them involve you. So I'm very thankful for you watching these videos. I'm thankful every thumbs up, every subscription, every Patreon support, every time you buy a book or you buy merch, you are helping me take care of my family, buy cool guitars, and help more guitar hunters fill the world with music and friendship. This is a serious and wonderful gift to me, and I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. Have a great new year. I hope your hearts are just tipped off to the brim whether you get to see your family in person and your friends in person, or if it's just electronically, know that you are really loved and that you are cared for. Thanks. I'll see y'all later.